In 1975 with Marvin to start writing the book, The Society of Mind. They came back in 1976. So I got to know them in 1975, and they invited me to go to MIT. I went to MIT in 1976, and stayed there until 1983, when we, I think that's the year that we met. Then I went back, and another inspiration was Freire, in the sense that whatever you construct for Freire has to be related to the reality of the children, or the person in his case. So it's not anything that you impose on them, but it's something that came from the learners. And we move along these years from working with Logo from 83 until 91, when we start having these machines, the PC machines, and then we start with internet, multimedia, distance education, online education, and so forth. And recently we move into laptops, beginning 2005, when they have this meeting in Davos. Negroponte offered the idea of having computer laptops at the schools. So the government decided that this was a good thing to do and set up this project that I mentioned to you. So at NIED, we had basically 3 projects related to these laptops. One was this 1 computer per student using Intel. The other one, we got some machines from Walter, XO. We had like 500 of them in one with the schools, doing this project that's called Pencil, Notepad, and Laptop Project. And more recently, we have this project, the Inquiry-Based Learning Project, which is related to what I mentioned to you, to the previous 1 laptop per student project. So it's important here that the teachers had already a kind of training in how to use the laptop for whatever they want. And our question, this is what I'm going to talk about. But the question was, first of all, how we went about doing this UCA project, the 1 laptop per student project. Starting in 2010, it covers all the states, the 27 states in Brazil. We had 150,000 laptops. Each state will select 10 schools with different types of school, rural school, urban schools, and all kinds of different types of schools, so we could understand how these laptops could work in these different schools. We had about 350 schools in the whole country, and they had, we selected schools with 500 teachers and students all together. So it was kind of a small school that we could handle. And 6 cities, all the schools receive computers, so the idea was to understand how the city evolved, all the students and so forth in the city evolve in terms of using these computers and what kind of impact that would have in the cities. So in terms of Brazil, this is practically nothing, because we had 168,000 public schools. 80% of the students are in urban area. 20% is rural area. 2.2 million teachers, 4.7 million students. We are dealing only with 350 schools. So this is a drop in the bucket. It's practically nothing. It's called a pilot project. And it was based in 3 pillars, as we had here. We had to train the teachers how to use the laptops. We had a group doing evaluation, how these things was being implemented, the implementation of infrastructure, and the research part. This is what we construct on top of this project. This is what I'm going to talk about to you. So we use the Intel machines, and NIED was responsible for schools, 3 schools in the state of São Paulo, and we also helped schools in 3 different states. So we are doing a lot of video conference, preparing these teachers from universities to help prepare the teachers from the schools of these different regions. And once in a while we had visits these schools, but basically it was done through video conference. So in terms of the project, so we had helping these universities to help the schools, and we are going to these schools here where we had the project, the inquiry-based learning project. So this is the broad picture of where this project I'm talking about came from. So the inquiry-based project, as I said, was set up as part of this 1 laptop per student project, was financed by one of the equivalent to NSF Foundation. The motivation of this was very interesting thing that we observed when we visit the schools and ask the kids or the teachers what we were doing with the laptop. 100% of the time we would get the answers like this. We are doing research. And when we asked them what kind of research was that, was basically going into Google and look for something. So this kind of bother us because, what kind of, why are you thinking about doing research? So the objective of the project was the implementation of this, instead of calling research-based, or I call inquiry-based, in the sense that I don't want them to have this idea that research is something that you only do with the university. This was something that the schools could do it, and to soften a little bit, what we do, I call inquiry-based education. And we had, in each school, we had a teacher that was appointed, or she was volunteered to be the facilitator in the school, so she was helping us to maintain or implement the project in the schools. And we had 1 person from our lab that would visit the schools to help the teachers. So the train here, or the preparation of the teachers, was done on service, as the project is going. We didn't prepare the teachers to do research and then ask them to work with the kids and do whatever. I mean, we're doing this together. We're learning with them as we're going along with the project. So, as I said, I made this distinction between inquiry versus research, and also we had to talk to them about this scientific method. How do you go about doing experiment, recording the information, writing about the results, and so forth. So some of the Brazilian literature already mentioned things like that. So they call research-based education. That's what I made the distinction calling inquiry-based instead of research-based, because these people here go very much into the research idea. Also, there was some other production of a material by the local producers of information for schools, like magazines and so forth. And we use a lot of this information from this book, which is a book that I found in England, Inquiry-Based Learning. I don't know, are you familiar with this author here? Orchestrating Inquiry Learning. Was very, very nice because it tells examples of schools working with this idea, not using technology. Some could use technology, but not all of them could use technology. But the idea is that it's very much what we want to do, is the idea that we can propose something, get information, collect information, analyze this information, and produce a report and make sure that the students understand what they are doing. So we move from this idea of research to look for information or assess information. And the other extreme, you have the application of scientific method. We are kind of in between. The idea of the inquiry here, not very much, the access to information, and not the scientific method as we have at the university, doctoral, master, and so forth. The idea was not to undermine the research scientific method, but we want to go from the investigation to the inquiry into the research. And the challenge was how to do this in a school situation. So this is the pathway that we take. The proposal was to use the inquiry learning, integrate with the curriculum material. This was not something they do after school or a particular discipline. We want them, if you're doing math, how can you do inquiry using whatever you're working with your curriculum? This was the kind of imposition, let's say, that we presented to the schools. Because otherwise they get this stuff to do after school, has nothing to do with the curriculum, and we never get the idea of integrating technology into the curriculum. So we go from a question, whatever they are working with their curriculum, then they have to start questioning or find out questions from the students, what they want to do, what they want to understand about this particular area, particular content. They had to do some experiments, collect data, analyze data, disseminate the results, and go back to other questions. So we had a process there that is more or less what you do when you do research, but that's why we were talking or asking the teachers to be engaged. So the first thing that we did with the teachers, we had a situation like this. We're proposing or talking about the project with them, and we asked them to write down the answers to these three questions. What they understand that is science, what is research for them, and what is scientific method. Whatever they're thinking about these three questions, to write them down. And then we analyze and we show to them, discuss with them what they're thinking. We call this spontaneous conceptions. We don't want them to go to the books and write down what you're thinking. And also, we ask them to do the same thing with their students, exactly the same thing. And it was very interesting here because some of the teachers, like the first grade, second grade, said, no way my students are going to answer these questions. But we said, no, do it anyway. And it was very interesting because, for example, the kids from the second grade said that research is when the mother goes to the supermarket and look for good prices of the products they are buying. This is what's research for them, which was kind of unexpected. And this gets the teachers to understand that whatever we're doing is trying to make sense for the kids about what they understand about research and improve whatever they have in terms of this conception, science, research, and scientific method. So here they are doing this. They are writing down and putting a piece of paper, and then we categorize, analyze this, and gave back these things to them. The third activity was the teachers would get a topic from the curriculum and discuss with the students about the topic. Could be planet, could be Indians, could be the environment in one particular area of Brazil, and so forth. This was the topic. Ask the students to propose questions they want to find out about this particular topic. And if it was a question that we could go to Google and get the answer, was not a good question, or go to the library, whatever. A good question was a question that they could set up an experiment and find out about the answer to this question. So one example of the activity, I'm going to show from a particular school. This is a school that goes from first to fifth grade, had 24 teachers, and about 390 students. So here's the question. This group of second grades are studying the one area of Brazil called Pantanal. And this is the symbol of Pantanal, this bird here. It's called tuyuyu. And the kids looking the information in the internet and so forth, finding the pictures of the bird, and they ask this question: why do the tuyuyu legs bend this way and not like ours this way? Anybody knows the answer?
Maybe because the weight is distributed towards the front?
Look at the other question. In fact, it's a big bird and has these very, very thin legs. Anybody? Actually, this is not particular behavior or feature of this bird. All the birds like this. Excuse me?
You have a hint in the photograph on the right. Is it because the pressure is quite spread in terms of the... No? No. Good try, bad try.
Well, you talk about the anatomic, probably has...
There were two things, either flight or had something to do with preying for food and hunting. If it's moving through the water, I can't explain it, but that's my thought.
Probably the fact that it's like this probably has to do with this landing that you're saying. But in fact, what's happening here is they are like us, but this is the dorsal. You understand? This is the ankle. And the knee is underneath here. So the kids had to look for this, anatomy of the bird, like they found like this. They cannot see the knee because of the wing of the bird. But they have a lot of problem to understand that because, you know, the idea that you walk this way is much more concrete than seeing the picture of the bird. And we had a very hard time to convince them. Some got the idea, some didn't. Another thing that we did, we asked somebody to construct a model of this bird for them to play because, you know, they could not go to Pantanal, which was very, very far. But the person constructed the model wrong. He did exactly the way we do. So we have kids, now when they set up this model, they go like this. You see that they are bending exactly like we do. See? So some kids got the idea, and some didn't. Well, we didn't have the bird, so here's all this discussion about the whole school changed completely in terms of dynamic. You have the kids all over the place solving problems. The implementation of the laptop in the school changed completely the dynamic of the school. So we went to our university to construct a model, a Lego model, so they could see how it was possible to have this knee underneath the wing and the ankle function like that, so they could understand a little bit how this thing works. The bad part is that this model doesn't walk, so you don't see this. The only thing they could see was the mechanism, how this thing is possible. But it's different than be able to see the actually bird moving. But this was very interesting because it was bringing the problem from the school to the university, and the university thinking, you know, how can we do this? Is this real? They also questioned the problem of, you know, how this bird was walking and so forth. So here you have, you know, them trying to figure out how this thing was possible. Sometimes they get it, sometimes they didn't. And this was a very hard problem to solve. This was something that was taking, for example, months to do all these different aspects of the project. Other examples, the first grade, they want to ask the question, how the Indians make dyes? How do they paint in their body? Where they get the dyes from? So they look for the information in the internet, and they found this seeds, this called urucum seeds. They're smashing the seeds here, and they use 3 different solvents. They use oil, water, and alcohol. These are things that the Indians have access, in the sense that they can make oil from seeds, they can use water, and they have some kind of liquor that they make from plants. It is alcohol-based. So they have to do making these dyes and tests to see which one would be better fixed in the skin, and they come up with the idea that the oil was the best one, and they have to use, report these results, and they are here using this in a presentation of this project to the parents, to the school. They dress up like Indians and they use these dyes. The third grades, they are working with environmental conditions. And the question was, how can we keep plants alive in in different environments? So what they did, they select the chrysanthemums, and they have 3 different situations. Leaving the plant in the classroom, put the plant inside of a box, there is no light or water, whatever, and stick plant inside the refrigerator. And they have to, every day, they have to evaluate the development of this plant, document what's happening, using the laptop to photograph and write about what they are finding and so forth. So here is the chart they writing about the stuff. Here is the plants after 1 week. And this was very interesting because they find out that the best plant was the plant that was inside of the refrigerator. And this was kind of a contradiction because they expect the plant inside of the refrigerator to die. But in fact, when they look for the information to why is the plant doing very, very well inside the refrigerator, they find out that chrysanthemums like cold temperature. So this is when I said that when you work in the school, you have this kind of messy, because you expect something, and in fact, you're getting something else. But, you know, that's what we want, because ourselves, we didn't know about this. So, you know, we're working, learning with the students. Fourth grade was studying the curriculum, how to take organic and inorganic garbage and understand the decomposition of these different materials. And here they use the soil around the school and the flower pot that was kept inside of the classroom. And they put a lot of stuff in there, like newspaper, apple, plastic, several things that they bury into these different situations, the ground around the school and the flower pot. This was another interesting thing that also involved the whole school. We have people from the school kind of taking care of, you know, not letting people step onto this area of the school and so forth. The parents would come to the school and say, look, my daughter is talking about this apple that you buried them. What's going on in the school and so forth. And here they are, you know, after a week, after a month, I think, they are removing these objects from the ground and from the flower pot. And they found out that, you know, after this, writing the results and putting this into the computer, analyzing them, which object decompose faster than the other ones and so forth. The fifth grade, this is the final one. They are working with seeds, growing seeds. The question was what the ideal conditions to grow plants. So they are putting seeds in a fertilized earth, normal earth, and cotton. The reason to have cotton, they said the cotton is good because it takes care of the seeds. They're very, you know, cozy. So they have the beans growing, measuring them, and now you can see that they are using a little bit more of the computer to do other things like the graphics and the, you know, to understand a little bit better, analyzing, documenting, using the technology a little bit more intensive than you saw in the other parts. Great challenge is how to integrate this inquiry-based learning activities into the curriculum. We did a lot of support to these teachers. They're really sometimes afraid to try. We have to encourage them. No, let's do it. Some schools continue some of this project. Some schools drop it. No, you are not there anymore, and they kind of get a little bit scared of, you know, continuing to do this stuff. But this is what I think is something that I keep, you know, bouncing ideas in terms of how much we have here in terms of programming, how much is this constructivist, but I think, you know, they are using the computer as probably we do, And we have seen other projects that when they are constructing things, doesn't have to be necessarily, to me, the idea of just programming, because they are debugging things. They have a lot of different things that they never thought about that happened during this project. We wrote a book. This book is free, can be downloaded from this link here. It's too bad that it's in Portuguese. But we have here material that we wrote, the teachers wrote with our staff, some stuff that the kids produce. So it's a very fat book and has all kinds of interesting results, not just from this school, but the other schools that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, officially we have 10 minutes, which seems about right. Would anybody like to ask any questions or make any comments? Walter.
So it seemed that one component of all the projects was, documentation, sort of a lab notebook, that kind of an idea. Did that then carry on after the project ended? That concept in the classroom?
As I said, some teachers are still, working with these ideas. But, the teachers were kind of afraid that they did because there was some help in the schools. They kind of dropped the idea. But now the city of Campinas is based upon this project, is asking us to help all the schools in the city. They brought computers, and they want something like that for all the schools. But they want us to understand like the vocation of the school, what the schools are doing. For example, if the school has a radio web, they want us to work, not impose something, but help the schools to develop that project. So we have to do like a tailoring project according to different schools.
Anybody? Yeah, Cynthia.
I need a little more of a picture, Jose, if you could, about the length of time. When you described the first project, you said that went on for a very long time. How come?
The first project was just technology in the schools. And the teachers basically could do anything. We have primary schools, secondary school, they could use the technology the way they want. But as I mentioned, most had this idea of just looking for information. We use technology to look for information in the internet. So this project, the first project, happened from 2010 to 2013. So 3 years. We thought this was going to be very, very fast, but in fact, it took a long time for the teachers to get used to use technology, to incorporate them into the curriculum. Because there was a big difference between having a laboratory where they bring the classroom to the laboratory to do whatever, and having these computers on the desk or the bag of each student. So now the students may open the laptop and say, teachers, I have something here that's different than what you're saying. And this is, shakes everything. So it took a long time for them to get rid or incorporate this technology into their classroom. But to move to one step forward in terms of what do you do that's very, very important, that you really need this technology for, was very hard to see. That's why we developed this project, to show them that they could do research, they could do something more in-depth in terms of using this technology to do something that was beyond just looking for information in the internet. But some teachers were using Lego Logo, have this web radio, several teachers that really understood the idea of using technology as part of their curriculum could take over and do something very interesting. But they need a lot of help. We have to be with them to help them to make this transition from this thing that's happening in the blackboard, once in a while bring the kids to the laboratory to do whatever that has nothing to do what's happening in the classroom.
Okay, I think we can just have one more. I think this is the last one, please.
Yes, activities are so interesting. Examine the anatomy of the kind of a flamingo or something, and how long the trash will be decomposed under the ground. Just in case that the kids might not interest in those questions, is there any process before we bring the kids into the question? When you get started, how could we get started? Just in case that maybe that kind of question might not of their interest or some of them.
No, the question, what they want to do, came from them. No, here's the teacher saying, we are dealing, in our curriculum, we have to do with environment. How can we have a safe environment? What do you want to know about it? And the kids have different questions. I want to know where they drop the garbage. So go to the internet. Oh, the garbage is dropped somewhere. So this is not a good question. Another question, and so forth. And then came to this one. How is this thing decomposed? Go to the internet, no answer. Go to the books, no answer. Well, so let's do an experiment and find out. How about newspaper? How about plastic? How about bananas? How about, and so forth. They are asking whatever to, and this was put in the soil, in the ground, and in the flower box. And then, register and document what's happening. But the questions came from them.
But under
the topic came from the teacher.
Okay.
According to their curriculum.
Thank you.
Okay, once again, thank you, Joseph. Well, oh, sorry, there was one that I missed. What?
Hi. I've been listening to a lot of talks about constructionism, but I've been thinking about one question time and again. And the question is that, from what I've read about Papert, he never spoke about a curriculum. He never spoke about any structured curriculum. But what makes me wonder is that why in every talk we talk about integrating computers in a curriculum, integrating things in a curriculum, and not constructionism based on what the learners are, what are their needs, and then developing a curriculum according to their needs.
Let me tell you a little bit of the background that we had in the Logo Lab. The relationship between Logo and the school happened because some very clever teachers would come from school to the Logo Lab. This was before the Apple. This was 1976, 75, 78, 79. Apple came in 1981. So the only place that you had the computer would be at university. So these very clever people came, did some stuff, loved it, and became attached to the idea of Logo, using Logo, program, and so forth. Then we have the dissemination of the technology going to the schools. So we had one project, the Lamplight project, Brookline project, everything was done after school. You understand? This was not integrated into the curriculum. This was something that the kids would, after the school, they'll go there and do some stuff. And we have these bright people from MIT working with them, making miraculous stuff, writing their thesis and so forth. But the classroom stayed the way it was. Correct? Then, if we want to bring this stuff to the school, either we're going to work like that, laboratory has nothing to do with the classroom, or eventually we want this technology to be inside of the classroom. And if you put the stuff inside the classroom, somehow you have to deal with the curriculum. So if you read Mindstorm, there is zero about teachers. If you read another book by Seymour, The Child Machine, there is one chapter about the teachers, but very, very kind of, they are in between great ideas and what we can do. That's how I understood that for Seymour, the teachers was kind of interfering with this implementation of the great idea into the school. So somehow, we are trying to do that. If you understand, most of the projects that we know in terms of logo in several places, we have logo in the, for example, in the main jails, nothing to do with school. We have computers in Brookline, as I mentioned, to after school. We have projects like here, was in a rural area, had not to do with the schools. So this was the project for Seymour. And we are doing the projects that we want to have the computers in the classroom. And we have to do with the curriculum somehow, because it's impossible to tell to the government, you know, we're going to go to the classroom and do whatever we want. The question is, either this curriculum is going to stay the way it is, and we go to the lab and have fun, or do we try to integrate them? And I think the idea to integrate, part could be programming, but part could be something else that can do with technology and be constructivists.
Thank you, Jose. I have to stop you because I'm giving a talk upstairs. Thank you very much.